Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today, as promised, this is the first card we're going to do this week with the Heartfelt Blooms Saleabration Stamp Set. So today we're going to do a very simple panel card. So we won't mess around, we'll get started. So that's using this stamp set from Saleabrations, which is called Heartfelt Blooms. Okay, so I did do a previous tutorial on all the different techniques. There's 4 techniques that we're going to use. So to start with, we're going to need a piece of base to make our base card. I've chosen Perfect Plum, and it measures, I'll just go out a little bit, that measures 11 inches long by 4 1/8 of an inch wide, and then I've scored that at 5 1/2, and then I've used my bone folder to give it a really good crease. Okay, and then I've chosen a piece of rose red as my first mat, and that measures 5 1/4 of an inch by 3 7/8 of an inch, and that will just go straight down onto there, which we might do that. No, we won't do that yet. We'll keep that separate. Then I've chosen a piece of Sahara sand, which measures 5 inches by 3 5/8 of an inch. So these are just colours I've chosen. You choose whatever colours that you would like. So on the inside of the card, I've chosen a piece of Sahara sand, which is 5 1/4 of an inch by 3 7/8 of an inch. And I've gone ahead just to save a little time, and I've stamped the flower up in the corner there, just so when people open the card, it's not just a blank card with a bit of writing. It just adds a little bit of prettiness really into your card. So let's grab my grid paper so I don't make too much of a mess, and I've got my bin nearby. So we're going to just adhere that piece straight inside the card, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. Now you don't need too much. Just try and get as close to the edge as you can without going too much over. And then just don't stress about it too much. Just try and get it as straight as possible. Close it, and I just like to give it a little rub, and then the glue will take effect. And that's the inside of the card already done for you. So we'll set that aside. Then we're going to take, I've chosen Sahara sand, and we're going to stamp the image. So this measures 5 inches by 3 5/8, and I'm going to be stamping it using my Misty tool. So we'll open that up. And I'm just going to place, one of my magnets has decided to pop out, pop it back in. So we're just going to, we want to stamp the flower so it's across like this, so that when we cut it in 1 inch sentiments, as you'll see me do, we're going to catch the flower, some part of the flower on each 1 inch. like this. This is what I'm meaning. And the last 1 inch you won't use. So you'll see as I go ahead. So we're going to grab the big flower stamp set, and you'll notice that on the actual image it's got a cluster of 3 little flowers up there. I use that as my go-to to line it up. So I want the whole flower, and remember I'm cutting off the last inch. So I'm going to put it about there, and hopefully it will be straight. So I'm going to use Stampin' Up's Perfect Plum. Now when you stamp this stamp, because it's a bit of a different style of stamp that Stampin' Up has brought out, usually I tap, 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 but I'm still going to do that a little bit. But I have found the best way to apply my ink to this stamp is just to hold it and really give it a good push, because you need to have a really good coverage over the whole stamp. And you'll find that if you rotate your ink pad too, you'll get a good coverage, because certain parts of your ink pad will be inked up more than other parts. So I find that if I rotate the ink pad as I'm applying it to the stamp, it helps. And if you just saw me then, I've just had a little bit of ink on there, and I just use a cotton bud to remove it. People that watch my videos all the time are very used to me using my cotton buds. So, and that's a really good impression, but I'm just going to do it once again. The good thing with Misty is you can and you can see that I've just got a little bit up there again. Just a little bit there. It's hardly anything at all, but I just don't want it transferring to my card. So just apply that once more. And then I'm just going to grab my chamois and clean off my stamp straight away. This chamois is from Lawn Fawn, and I just use it all the time. I actually have 2, and they're really good to use. So that's dried pretty quickly. So we will, then what we need to do is cut, bring in the trimmer, and we're going to cut it in 1 inch sentiments. So if you're using a Stampin' Up trimmer, it's quite easy because you're just lining up over the other side, because it's a bit fiddly cutting off 1 inches. So if you do have a Stampin' Up trimmer, you just line it up to the 1 inch over here. And make sure it's straight along this bar here. So then you won't be, just put my cutting blade at the top. And that piece we won't be using. And you'll see why. So we're just going to line that up at the 1 inch again. Now I like to lay them down as I cut them so I don't glue them down upside down or anything like that. And you can do this with, this is a panel card, you can use any stamp you wanted, but I just wanted to show you how versatile this stamp set is. It's becoming one of my favourites, so I'm just going to close that ink pad so we don't get it all over the place. And then we're going to bring in a piece of rose red, which is 5 1/4 inches by 3 7/8 of an inch. And what we're going to do is glue our panels onto here next. Okay, so I'm going to get my glue. Just grab my grid paper. Sorry. So just grab my grid paper. I'm just going to put this to the side so I know in what sequence I need to grab them. So just make sure you know which way you need to be gluing these up. And I just, there's no really measurements here. I'm just eyeballing it really. Just in that top corner, it just had a bit of a funny cut, but it's alright. So that's our first one down. And the ideal of when you're doing the panels is you want some of that colour that you've used, I've used rose red, you want some of that showing through. But just try and glue them down. Sorry, I'm only applying the back of the glue on the back of the panel. Just try when you're putting them down to do them a bit equal. So try and have the top level with this top piece here, and then it should automatically be level at the bottom here. And if you use the multi-purpose liquid glue, it does give you a few seconds to move that piece of cardstock up or down if you need to. So, you know, sometimes you might not get it exact, but that's pretty good. Quite happy with that. And we just got our last piece because we're not using that first piece we cut off, remember, because we're going to put a piece of ribbon on the end of this card before we, or on the end of this mat before we apply it to the card. So this is a very easy card to make. It's a very easy technique. So I'm just trying to have it look pretty much similar. That would be the most difficult part of the card. So you can see it's a very easy card to make. And then we're just going to bring, this is a new organza that they've, organza ribbon that Stampin' Up have brought in. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to apply on the back some tear and tape, because I don't apply adhesive underneath my ribbon, as those that watch me know. I just do it to the back. Just peel that off. So I'm just going to put a little bit there so it catches on the tear and tape, and all I'm going to do is wrap it around. So it has to be pretty taut, so tight, so it's like that on the front. And just snip that off. And that's how I apply my ribbon. Now, because I've got some ribbon left over, you can do like a false knot. I'll just see what it looks like that. So I'll get my good scissors now, because they're going to cut the ribbon nicely. Straight into my bin. So you can fiddle with the knot as much as you like till it's sitting how you like it. So we've got that on the end. So now we're going to apply this piece to our card front. So our ribbon is on the end. It's having a bit of trouble with the corners of my cardstock. So that's going to be glued onto there like that. So we'll just get the multi-purpose liquid glue again. Oh, one thing I should have done is just put some tear and tape on top of the ribbon, because liquid glue won't glue your ribbon to your card, so I like to use my tear and tape to do that. And then just make sure that's up the right way. And then we're going to apply, do down the middle. So on the end of the ribbon, you're not going to have to put any multi-purpose liquid glue because we've got the tear and tape there. So we have to be really careful when we put it down, because once that tear and tape hits the cardstock, you will not be able to pull it back up. So you've got to be pretty sure you've got it straight. So I just try and hold the tear and tape end up a little bit. Until I'm sure that it's going to be straight and I don't need to move it. So that's the card so far. And then before the video, I just went ahead and stamped one of the greetings, sending heartfelt thoughts. This is from the stamp set, and I'm just going to pop it on some dimensionals. Now this is where you can decide whether you really want that ribbon or not. And I'm thinking I don't want that knot there. So I'm just going to pop some, say 3 dimensionals. I just like to push them with my tweezers at the bottom, or in the middle, sorry, and then they will peel off very easily and you'll save your nails. So I'm just positioning that hopefully so it's going to be straight, and I'm actually going to remove this false knot because I'm not really happy with it. I think it looks better without it. So when you put your false knots on, just don't do them too tight that you can't remove it. And then I'm just going from the shapes. This is from the Regal selection. You can get these shapes from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to, I like to push them sort of like that so that and then you're going to peel the sticky that's on the back of them. I know some people do use tweezers, but I find sometimes when you do that, you don't pick up the sticky adhesive that's on the back. And you'll just put one little one. Just be careful when you're putting them down because you don't want them crooked. So that's our panel card for today. So I don't know what you think about the Heartfelt Blooms, but I really love it. I really love this stamp set. So that's it stamped. Just go out a bit. So that's it stamped in rose red, and this is it stamped in perfect plum. So the rose red is more vibrant, but I like both of them. So just stay tuned and please subscribe at the bottom of this tutorial, and it just helps me to get traffic coming through and helps me to continue to do videos for you. So that's all for today with the panel card. The next card we're going to do is using it as a background stamp. So until next time, happy crafting!